Sup? Yeah, you probably weren't expecting another upload on this channel anytime soon, were you? That's mainly because I'm not really that much of a gamer anymore, but I'd say I definitely was as a kid, and one of the game series that I played as a kid quite a lot was SSX. I mean, if you never played any SSX games growing up, did you even have a childhood? You probably don't need me to tell you how great Tricky is. There's already like 50 other YouTube videos out there saying it. With all the bright colors, the wacky characters, the completely unrealistic tricks where they detach from their boards. If you want to get the Tricky experience without playing Tricky, just play 1080 snowboarding and then take an MDMA pill. It's like that. The first SSX game was good as well, but obviously it ended up just being like a beta test version of Tricky. A sequel released just a year later that's basically just a remaster of the first game. I am completely shocked that EA would do a thing like that. And then, of course, there was the third game. Woo! Honestly, like, the gameplay of Tricky feels a little bit stiff in the character's movements, and then SSX is so fluid, you know, and just the aesthetic and the gameplay just fucking bad ass. I played SSX On Tour as well. I played the PSP version, which was apparently just like a ported version of SSX 3, ultimately. So I didn't even get to experience slow motion Uber tricks, which may be a blessing in disguise. But yeah, I didn't get to play SSX Blur because we never had a Wii. But we did have an Xbox 360. So when the 2012 game came out, I was definitely looking forward to playing that one. So I got it pretty quickly and I finished the campaign pretty quickly. We didn't have Xbox Live or anything, so once I'd done the campaign, I felt like I didn't really have any reason to play it anymore. So I only played it for about a month. That pissed me off a little bit. Yeah, no, this series was a large chunk of my childhood. And let's revisit one of the most iconic elements of the SSX series, the characters. Some definitely iconic, some probably not as iconic as you remember them, or just were never really iconic in the first place. I've got the good old tier list ready here. The highest tiers is the Uber tiers. Then we've got a couple of tricky rankings for the mid to low tiers. And at the bottom we've got Smells Like the Seed of the Luther Swamp. Feel free to drop any of your thoughts on the series and or the characters and my opinions of them at any point.
Yeah, blah, blah, blah.
So these are in order of the, when the games came out, and also alphabetical order. So first up, we've got Elise from the original SSX. The characters of the first SSX were fun, not a whole lot of depth. So in this one, Elise just kind of, honestly, just a bit of an airhead, really. You might put her in the contender fit for now. Then we've got one of the truly forgotten characters. Poor hero. He definitely had the coolest suits in the first game, but, he also didn't have a whole lot of depth aside from wanting to win, I think. Apparently, if you translate his dialogue, a lot of it's just about, I'm gonna win, or how am I not winning, And he made a lot of weird noises as well, so I don't know. Yeah, unfortunately, just because of the limited character arc that EA Sports gave him, you might have to put him in the upper rookie tier, ultimately. Next up, there's JP. He's French. The JP from SSX Tricky was noticeably more interesting than this one. So he'll go in contender, but he'll probably be lower ranked in that tier. And then we've got another forgotten character, big man Jurgen, or Jurgen. It should be Jurgen, but I've heard it pronounced both ways in this series. Yeah, I mean, I like the whole gentle giant sort of character. So even though he doesn't have a lot of depth either, I have maybe slightly more of a personal bias towards him, and for that, he's got to be at least in the contender tier. Probably at the top of that tier. Then we've got the original Kaori. She got better throughout the series. A little uncanny, maybe. But no, she'd have to go at least this tier, I think. Yeah, we'll put him above JP. And then we got Mac, arguably the biggest icon of the series. I mean, well, there's Kaori as well. But, Mac still just manages to be iconic, even when like half of his lines are just him going, yeah, when he goes in the air. I like him. He's going to get out first Uber rank. And Moby in this game is definitely going to get Uber as well, because like he's already pretty similar to how he is in SSX Tricky, even though he doesn't really have the same level of backstory. But yeah, he's a legend. If you like make a composite of all of his depictions in the SSX series, he's probably the best character overall. And then we got the original Zoe, which is a bit of a far cry from how she ended up in the next couple of games, and still kind of cool, but yeah, they definitely improved the character design later on. Maybe just there. Now, here's where the real personalities come in. SSX Tricky.
I hope you brought warm clothes.
How about you tell Brody and Simon that? Oh yeah, this is alphabetical, so we start off with Brody in this. He's like the chillest that ever lived. You know, even though he's not the most interesting character when you look into it. Like, he's just, he's a surfer, he's a Buddhist, he likes the environment, but Billy Zane carries this role massively. This is going to be our first Super Uber. We got Eddie, voiced by David Arquette, who also absolutely ate in the role. He's probably responsible for one of my favorite lines of dialogue in the entire SSX series.
If there's 5 great boarders in the world, I'm 3 of them.
There isn't really much to him other than being a silly, goofy little guy. Why wouldn't you play as a silly, goofy little guy? Just for the way that David Arquette bodies the voice acting. He's going to be in Super Uber as well. We got Elise. Yeah, overall, I'm not really huge on the Elise character. Like, the whole self-centered and I'm better than you attitude, it's not the most creative approach, but she still gives you some laughs.
Sorry, I'm busy now. Can I ignore you some other time?
Target destroyed.
Mainly because of that. So go in the Uber tier at the least. Then we got JP. They flesh him out a lot more in this one, and he is a gigantic hole, but that's good character writing because they sell it. He's a prick. But yeah, no, he's stylish. He does a head spin for his Uber trick. At the very least, he's going to be at the sort of mid to lower part of the Uber tier. We've got probably the first true depiction of Kaori in this series. Hey, how can you hate her? She's just so cheerful all the time, and we'll put her there. We'll put her definitely an Uber tier. We got Luther. Speaking of cake holes, he is like the worst, but that makes a good character to play as, at least. Another iconic voice acting performance throughout from Oliver Platt.
I haven't heard this much cheering since my mom was on that talk show.
Just because he's responsible for some of the funniest moments in the game, he's got to at least go in Uber tier. Yeah, so if you're a bit confused by here, you see, oh, here's Mac, but who's this guy that looks just like him? This is Mac's German cousin, Marty. If you played the North American version of Tricky, you would have just gotten Mac. But if you were European and also Australian like me, because we had the same game disc format as Europe, we got Marty as well for no real reason. I'll get to Marty a bit more later, but yeah, then we got the boy Mac again. He's also a bit of a head, honestly, but he's a kid, so like it may be to be expected. He maybe like kind of wants to be black, but
Why can I say it? I can't say it because I'm white.
he's a legend. I don't care. Maybe towards the bottom of Super Uber, but Super Uber nonetheless. He's cool. And I've actually kind of forgotten that we didn't have Mac in our version of Tricky, but it already felt like he'd been in the game anyway, just because of Marty. Yeah, we'll do Marty now. Yeah, he's just a German reskin of Mac with a mullet. It doesn't really work. They barely bother to change it. The voice acting just doesn't really sound very as passionate as it could have been. Unlike, say, JP and Kaori, where they mostly don't speak English. You still hear emotion, even if you don't necessarily know what they're saying. Marty is just like, he felt a bit rushed. We're going to spare him the Swamp Buggy tier and just put him towards the bottom of Rookie. Then we got Marisol, honestly probably the weakest character of Tricky. Definitely amusing.
When the going gets tough, the tough go shopping.
Bitches be shopping.
I played all of the characters pretty much equally, but Marisol's just like, yeah. I don't really have many words for Marisol, which probably says a lot. Maybe the only Tricky character that I'll put in the contender tier. Yeah, we'll put it behind Jurgen. free my boy Jurgen. We got Moby Jones again. There, legend. I might even put him above Brody and Eddie, just because he is one of the coolest dudes of the series, undoubtedly. And like the fact that he just like shouts everything actually works well for him. It's great. He's a bona fide legend. And then we got Simon, another pretty iconic character in the series. Jim Rose, who did the voice acting for Simon, he did a terrifyingly good job at being quite terrifying. I mean, no, I wasn't really scared by him, but no, he's fucking wild. And he's got to be at least super uber. Next up, we got Rahzel, who was also in the first SSX, but I guess because they reused his lines in Tricky, they've put him in the Tricky category for this one. I think his introduction to Garibaldi is just sort of seared in my mind. Welcome to Garibaldi. Legend. Yeah, put him in super uber, come on. And then we got Sia, another character that didn't really get a chance to really grow. But who needs growth when you've got f***ing Macy Gray?
Get back in line, this trophy is mine!
She's definitely one of my favorite characters in this game, regardless of how deep her personality is, yeah. We got Zoe, another SSX icon, and this is definitely one of her more iconic depictions. She's a badass, babe, great role model, and great style. Yeah, we'll put her up there with Mr. Moby Jones. And I'm sure she'll like that as well.
Ah, you're hot. Whoa, hey.
And here's SSX3, my favorite game in the series.
Yeah! Now this is living!
I thought when I was a kid, all of these people were just pretty rad as hell, but some of them are far from perfect. Case in point, Allegra Sauvagesse. Yeah, looking back, you know, she is cool enough, but a little bit one note, just sort of like, dude, yeah, I'm so good at this. I don't know. They could have executed her a little bit better. We're going to put it... Yeah, put it behind Jurgen. Well, I'm probably going to leave Jurgen at the top of the contender tier just because I like that big German bastard. And then we got DJ Atomica. That's not actually a picture of Atomica, by the way. If you know, you know. But yeah, come on, like, he's like the defining voice of many a childhood. So much great dialogue. Like, you could just go and listen to all of his dialogue, and it's just so much fun, even if he's just talking about what the weather is and what the courses are. Mark Hildreth, he ate up that voice role as well. Legendary stuff. And, fuck it, yeah, put him above Mac. Then we got SSX3 Elise. Honestly, I feel like her voice acting in this game suited her character better than Lucy Liu did. Yeah, I said it. Fucking fight me. I don't know, she's not as, like, funny as Tricky Elise, I guess. So... there's ups and downs to her character, but I might put her next to Elise because they're sort of similar quality. Next up, we got Little Griff.
Totally too weird, dude.
I mean, you know, kid characters can sort of give you the shits, but, you know, he's a convincing kid character. That's certainly one of the great things, and I just think he's great fun as well. You know, any character that's just having the time of their lives on the course is pretty hard to dislike. Yeah, no, he's super uber. SSX3 Kaori. No explanation needed. SSX3 Mac. Again, he's still a bit of a jerk. Looking back, he's slightly lamer than I would have thought he was as a kid. Bling, 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 bling. Nah, I love him, man. He's sick. He's got like the best aesthetic of all his depictions of the game. No, I dig it. He's super uber for sure. Just adding this in post because I didn't think of saying it at the time. I am talking quite a lot of shit about Mac, and yet I still consider him one of my favorite characters in the SSX series. And I think a lot of that is down to how Ryan Wall literally is just Mac. And he's not an actor. Mac is the only character that he has ever played. Same with the original voice of Moby. He's just a behind-the-scenes guy in the gaming industry, and he was a product manager for EA at the time. Booyaka! That's just how incredible EA Sports' casting team was back in the day. Of course, Mac does stay in the series after SSX3, but Ryan Wall doesn't return as his voice actor. And, well, we'll get to those soon enough. And we got Moby again. One of the downsides of Moby in this game compared to Tricky is that he's gone from, like, football hooligan voice to Cockney orphan, you know.
There's no better than Moby.
Spiffing air, mate. I'm gonna nosh on some crumpets after this. I can't hate him too much. I reckon he's gonna be the top of the Uber tier, at the very least. And then we got Mountain Man Nate. He's definitely portrayed as a very sympathetic character, so it's hard to dislike him. He's also just having a good time on the mountains, and he's full of, like, cowboy dialogue, which is still kind of amusing, even if it is predictable. But yeah, no, I like Nate a lot. Top of Uber tier as well. We got SSX3 Simon, who is not quite as intimidating as his Tricky persona. I know that a lot of people think that the voice actor change from Tricky to SSX3 was a massive downgrade for Simon, but I still think that his acting in this game works for the character. I think it's just the juxtaposition with the previous game that I can see why people were disappointed by it. But no, I still very much enjoy Simon in SSX3. No, he's got to be an upper Uber for sure. Viggo Rolly. The more I look into him, the more I feel like there are a lot of wasted opportunities for this character. I mean, for one, he's Swedish, that he sounds like a American frat boy. He's just sort of like a stand-in for Mac, except less into hip-hop, and also Mac is already in the game, so he kind of seemed a bit redundant, but I can't put him too low. He's going to go in contender tier, but, well, I prefer him over Allegra, so I'm going to put him there. And then we got Zoe again. She's a little bit toned down compared to her SSX Tricky character, but, you know, her personality is mostly still intact, so she's definitely one of the better characters in this game. I might put her sort of towards the bottom of Super Uber.
I look good on top, don't I?
So in SSX On Tour, these characters had even less development, because you were just playing as custom characters in the campaign, and then you would unlock these people and you play as them, but yeah, from what I've seen, at least Allegra seems like her character carries over from SSX3 into this one, so there's the consistency. I'll just put her like next to her SSX3 character, because I don't really know how high or low I would rank her, honestly. Speaking of consistency, I think EA did a good job of keeping Elise pretty much the same person in all the games, though it's probably not all that hard when she doesn't have a whole lot of complexity in her character, frankly. I don't know if I'm going to be ranking the On Tour characters all that high just because of their limited background. Kaori from On Tour. I shouldn't need to explain that one either. If you know, you've probably been mentally scarred. Mac from On Tour. Oh my god. Look at how they massacred my boy. Well, on the plus side, Nate is pretty much the same guy from SSX3 in this one. Same voice actor for one, and just sort of, you know, competitive, but also having a good time. He'll be the upper contender rank. And then we've got this cursed Simon version. He also has the same voice actor from the previous game, so that's a start. We'll put him upper contender at least. And then we've got Sid, one of the new characters, and then they threw him in the bin after this one. I don't really remember any of these characters, so I'm just sort of having to look back at details from the game in the present to judge these ones, and maybe lower contender rank. Then we've got Sky, who is Aussie, so that's a pro. But the con is, she talks like this, because they couldn't get an Aussie voice actor. And lazy pricks. As a character, she's fine, so she's in the rookie tier. And then we got Tyson with Nate's brother, and that's like his entire personality. He's more like Mac Fraser than Mac Fraser in On Tour is like Mac Fraser. He's gonna be towards the bottom of this one as well, unfortunately. And then we got Zoe's version in On Tour. A bit of a betrayal of her previous aesthetic, but not completely all that far off, I guess. She was one of the better off ones in this game. Yeah, we'll put her at the top of the On Tour character placings for sure. Then we got SSX Blur, where the characters didn't even have voice lines, so it's a bit hard to really judge what they're like in this game. So a lot of this is just going to be down to aesthetic, I reckon. Allegra is pretty true to her usual depictions, so yeah, why not? Just put her next to her SSX3 version. Elise also remains consistent, so yeah, we'll put her there. And we got Felix, one of the new characters. I mean, his entire personality trait was just that he's Canadian. That's basically it. Okay, hang on. I think I was being a little bit too harsh there. Felix is more than just a Canadian man. He's French-Canadian. Oh, wait. And I don't really feel bad about putting him there because he didn't really do anything to earn my respect. Griff came back in this one. Yeah, certainly not as interesting as his SSX3 fiction, but we'll put him upper for this game. JP came back and looks like the human version of Sonic the Hedgehog, except with a creepy mustache. I think he was sort of a slightly more sympathetic version of JP in this game, at least, so points for that, I guess. Yeah, apparently no one could really agree on what Kaori actually looks like. We'll put it next to her SSX version. We've got Mac in this one. Not the worst it could have been. I think he comes off as one of the better characters in this one. We've got one of the other debuting characters in this one that got booted afterwards. I respect that they at least tried to give this one a bit of depth, unlike Felix. She's sort of like Brody in the whole spiritual and environmentalist thing. We're going to put her in the upper contender rank. No, not above Jurgen. We got Moby. At least we didn't get to see how EA f***ed up his character in On Tour. So that's a big part of why he's probably one of the best characters in the overall series. And then Simon, it's kind of hard to portray him as the wild man when he doesn't say anything, I guess. We'll put him above Moby. Well, I'd certainly like Sky more when we don't have to hear her voice. That works in her favor. Yeah, we'll do that. And then we've got like the least accurate depiction of Zoe in the series. So this is going to be her worst ranked character, I'm going to have to say. I'll put her above Griff just because she's at least slightly more likable, maybe. Now we come to the last SSX game, probably the last ever SSX game at this rate. Again, I don't really remember these characters from when I first played the game, so I'm just sort of looking back at their backstories and their dialogue. The first character we got is Alex, who is a new character. She's basically just French Elise. Did we really need 2 Elises? I don't think we did, so I might have to put her at the top of the bottom. We got Eddie, who I never got a chance to play as in that game because he was DLC, and he's also kind of a shell of what he was in Tricky. Yeah, we'll put him above the Blur ones. Then we got Elise, who is Elise. Not really much to add, so we'll put her there. You've got Griff as an adult, and the bad guy. I mean, even if the whole backstory is maybe slightly contrived, it makes for a fun character in my mind. I reckon we're going to put him in the Uber tier. Then we got Kaori. She mostly speaks Japanese in this one, so that already makes her better than the On Tour character. She's not really the same character from the earlier games, but it's like a good evolution. It still feels like her even though she's changed, you know, so that definitely makes her one of the better ones, I'm going to say. We'll put her in Uber. Mac, he's not really the same as the younger one, but which also kind of makes sense because he's not a kid anymore, but he still sounds like a cool kid cartoon character. Not a huge fan of this one. Put him on the Blur ones, whatever. Moby. Listen back to his voice lines in this SSX. I'm pretty sure the voice actor isn't British, but he at least carries the spirit of Moby, so I can't knock him too much at all. Yeah, he's probably my favorite character in this game, I reckon. And there's Simon, who sort of reminds me of John Goodman or someone like that, or Ron Perlman maybe. Not really the Simon that most people love, but we'll put him in upper B tier. Then we got Tane. You know, he's like Brody, but Brody with less Riz. Yeah, we don't have a lot to work with for this guy, so. And we got Travis Rice, who is the real snowboarder, who was just like a DLC skin. You know, he's not a character, he's just, yeah, no, get him down here. He's still better than Mac and Kaori from On Tour, but he's nothing. Ty, I like the whole concept of him being the tester of the SSX courses. I like that, but they didn't really give him a whole lot of personality beyond that, so we'll put him next to Tane. Yeah, the last depiction of Zoe, I think, is a pretty good one. Not her best, but a hell of a long way from her worst. Yeah, she's good. They did alright. They did alright.
I'm one step ahead of the game. I'm one step ahead of the game. I'm one step ahead of the game. I'm one step ahead of the game.
Do you agree with these takes? Did you like the SSX series as well? Of course you did. Everyone does. Well, yeah. Let me know if there's anything that you really wanted to see on this channel. If you want me to revive it, I hope you enjoyed that, and peace and love.